So my name is Father Lewi Barakat and I'm an assistant priest at All Saints Catholic Church in Liverpool. I didn't know much about World Youth Day at all. I remember vaguely that there was a World Youth Day during my time at high school where perhaps 2 representatives from Trinity Catholic College were sent, but I don't know what they were sent to and I didn't remember much of what they said afterwards. But for me, it was 2006 when I heard that World Youth Day was coming to Sydney that I started to take an interest in what this event was all about. I was asked whether I would be the representative for the Archdiocese of Sydney in a group called the International Liturgy Group, the ILG short. I didn't know anything about the ILG and I didn't think it would be a good idea sending someone like myself who didn't know too much about liturgy at the time, although I took a great interest afterwards. I joined up with representatives from every country at World Youth Day. We got together a week before the World Youth Day week. We followed the Pope everywhere and that was an incredible experience. I wasn't expecting that, but I got the opportunity to be close to the Holy Father when he arrived in Sydney. I remember just looking out at the crowd and seeing the flags from all around the world and really being moved by the enthusiasm with which the young people had gathered to meet the successor of St. Peter. At the end of his greeting, he came over to the ILG group and he reached out his hand and he gave a blessing to us. And I remember just seeing his hand in front of me and I just reached out and I grabbed his hand and I kissed his ring, and I just had this unique experience of having been in contact with the successor of the apostles, not only that, the successor of St. Peter and the head of the Universal Church. And it was a great moment for this young boy who grew up in Auburn. I attribute the lead up to World Youth Day to playing a big role in my openness to the call to the priesthood. I never imagined that God could or would be calling me to the priesthood. But when I saw other young people considering that question, that gave me some courage. That gave me some courage to say, hey, maybe I should be open to the possibility. And there was a conversation I can remember with a young person who came up to me and said, look, have you thought about the priesthood? And when I said, no, I hadn't, and asked if you had, he responded, absolutely. And I remember with that kind of conviction that he said, absolutely, that I was just shaken a bit to say, hey, why aren't I considering this? I'll always remember the opening Mass with Cardinal Pell, and his homily was one of the most moving homilies that I've ever heard. And he spoke a lot about the Good Shepherd and the Good Shepherd being willing to leave the 99 to go after the lost sheep. And in the context of all that had happened in the lead up to World Youth Day, I just saw a beautiful call from that homily to be willing to go out after those who perhaps don't know God at all, who feel most lost. And I really had a strong sense that that would be a remarkable mission, to go after those who have never heard God's call or known his love. There was this real shift in my whole discernment, and that came, I would say, to me beautifully on the vigil and at the final Mass. With Pope Benedict's homily, he really told the young people who were considering the call to the priesthood not to be afraid. And if I was honest with myself, it was just fear that was preventing me from considering the call to the priesthood. Can I possibly live the life of a priest? That was a difficult question for me to really face. My hope is that young people in the Archdiocese of Sydney and those who were young at World Youth Day 2008 continue to respond to the call that they heard, especially amplified during the days of World Youth Day. And that is the call that Christ continues to make in the hearts of every person, that is to follow him with their whole hearts and lives. I pray and hope that there will be vocations in years to come that can see World Youth Day as having played some part in their vocational call.